Hello learners, I welcome you all to the second segment of lecture number 4. So in the earlier video, we looked at how it became easy for nationals of the home state to take capital to another country and start their economic activity in a foreign government. But in this video, we will look at that it is not as easy, but the movement of capital across borders also face some uncertainties as well as certain risks. So basically in this segment we are going to look at what are the risks that a foreign investor may face while trying to bring a capital from their home state and start a manufacturing activity or any other economic activity in the host state. Primarily the uncertainty with regard to the protection of foreign investment comes from the political ideology of the government of the home state, right? So that plays a very key role. Why do I say political ideology play a key role? Right, sometimes let's say if there's a communist government, then they are anyway against the concept of private capital as well as against the concept of private means of production as well. And even if there is a socialist government, then they may again be opposed to the concept of foreign investment in certain sectors. Even otherwise, also the government may not be very receptive to receiving capital from foreign investors, and this is something that you could see even in the context of India also. Right after independence until 1990, we had some sort of combination of nationalism and socialism that was not very receptive to inflow of FDI into India. Until 1990. I mean 1990 we adopted the LPG policy. So after that we'd opened, liberalized our economy. But before that we adopted a very strict license Raj. If you even want to import products into the country, and that would happen only with the approval of the government. So for whatever reasons, the political ideology of the host state's government acts as a huge risk for foreign investment. And even at the time of making the investment, if there is a favorable political climate and the foreign investor had brought the capital and has started the economic activity in the host state, eventually if there is a change in government, the new government may not extend the favorable climate to the foreign investor. That is also a risk that the foreign investor may have to face it. I mean, if the new government comes into picture and the foreign investor engages in a negotiation with the new government, it has to engage in a negotiation in order to get the original terms that it had negotiated with the previous government. Why do I say the attitude of the incoming government acts as a risk to foreign investor? We will look at SPP versus Egypt case. In this case, President Sadat wanted to improve the tourism sector of Egypt, and therefore he relaxed the rules and then allowed for construction of tourist complexes near pyramids. And this project was met with opposition, especially from the local population, because of the close proximity to the historic monument. So they were not very receptive to it. And after the assassination of President Sadat, when President Mubarak came into power, he halted the project, but by then the construction had already begun. So the attitude of the incoming government may act as a risk to the foreign investor, even if it had secured a favorable terms by negotiating with the earlier government. The incoming government could completely scrap the project or at least modify the original terms. So the risk anyway is there. The intensity of the risk may differ depending on how the new government looks at the foreign investment, right? So that is always there. But we do also see that sometimes the foreign investor form alliance with the minority people in the host state, and with the economic activity that goes on in collaboration with the minority people, that may make the minority people richer, but the democracy has conferred political power on the majority people. So the fact that minorities are getting richer may not be readily accepted by the majority people who has a political power. So there will be a constant strife. This is something we can see in the context of indigenization in Africa as well. That is also an example. Then we do see war, civil strife, revolution, all of them acts as a huge risk for foreign investor. The law and order situation in the host state definitely poses a huge risk for foreign investor. But the extreme form of the risk is something where an investor fears nationalization of the investor's investment. And that is also a possibility. Mossadegh in Iran had nationalized oil companies. So what more do you need? Your entire investment is now under the control of the government. So nationalization of foreign investment can be considered to be the extreme form of the risk that an investor may face. If not nationalization, even expropriation, taking over the property of the foreign investor, that also plays a huge risk. It is not just the taking over the property or nationalizing the property or political hostility towards the idea of foreign investment or war, strife, civil strife or revolution or law and order situation. These are not the only risk, but sometimes the risk may be accentuated in the form of a very subtle actions of the government as well, where the host state government may try and regulate the foreign investment. There may be imposition of heavy tax or there may be restriction with regard to royalty payment. There may be prohibition with regard to transfer of profit back to the home state. All of these may come in the form of regulatory measures of the government that had affected or that acted as a risk to the foreign investor. Please do remember, we are talking in the context of historical 17th, 18th centuries. At that point of time, tax restriction on the transfer of profit, all of them were major risk. Now, in the contemporary time, we are talking about environmental measures being regulatory measures and all of that. So, earlier, these were the things that acted as risk for foreign investor. And also we do see that, the regulation could also come in the form of licensing or it may come in the form of requiring local purchases, or the host state may say that after conducting the manufacturing operations in the host state, the foreign investor has to export at least a particular quantity of the product. So there may be n number of restrictions that could come from the host state itself in the form of a regulation that may act as a risk for a foreign investor. But we cannot categorically say that this government is completely opposed to foreign investment, because the same government, while imposing certain restrictions in the form of regulations to foreign activity, may also provide tax incentives, subsidized loans in certain sectors. Let's say telecom sector, the government may give incentive, subsidized loan in order to attract foreign capital. But when it comes to certain sensitive sectors like extraction of natural resources, then the state may say that you will have to take a local partner, and the local partner would be a majority shareholder, and all of these restrictions could come up. Or it may even go to the extent of saying that you will have to take the government itself as one of the partner while extracting the natural resources. So that may also happen. I mean, it could be sector specific. It's not that you cannot completely say the country is opposed to foreign investment, but it carefully chooses which sector it wants to liberalize for foreign investment and which sector it wants to keep a close watch on the economic activities in those sectors. And it makes sense, especially in the context of extraction of natural resources. So, I would like to conclude this lecture by saying that with the rise of rising industrial capitalism and decreasing transportation and communication costs, we do see the movement of capital from one country to other country. Way back in 17th century also, there was there was an increasing trend of movement of capital, because when earlier the traders did get rich by engaging in trade in furs, spices and all of that. Then they eventually started the domestic protection as well, because that again fetched them higher profits, right? So that also happened, but at the same time, the foreign investors did also face some uncertainties and some risk while carrying on the manufacturing operation or any other extraction operation or service companies and all of that in foreign land as well. So both of these had happened. So with that, I conclude my lecture. So from the next lecture onwards, we will see what sort of measures were taken in order to protect the investment made by a country's nationals, what sort of protection that a country afforded to its nationals when they had invested in some other country. Thank you.